Hello there, my fellow miners and crafters. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Smiling Rainbow Unicorn of Doom. It's been a little bit, but to make up for it, I have a very special guest to you. So if you want
specialist guest,
if you want to introduce
you
yourself,
keep taking the gaps, man. The gaps throw me off. It's me. It's Joe. You know me. You missed me, but I'm back now.
But did you miss me?
Who are you?
Shocked Pikachu face.
And it's over. Podcast is over.
All right, guys, it's been a good episode today, but I want to thank you guys for tuning in to this. Okay, so we have a very special episode today. We are talking about something that is near and dear to my heart, and it's pretty popular right now, so we can get on that clickbait, that clickbait bus.
Well, it's been popular for, decades.
Yeah, but it
has a bit of a resurgence now, but...
Oh, yeah. So we were going to talk about Avatar, The Last Airbender. My personal favorite TV show. I don't know about you, Joe.
Yeah, probably. I can't think of anything that I really like more, so.
Hey, all right. But we need to act like we hate it, so we can like have a clickbaity title like, is Avatar The Last Airbender overrated? Like something like that.
I actually do have an interesting point to bring up later. Not about it being overrated, but about like an actual major flaw with it. But
yeah, no,
we'll get to that.
We'll get to that in a minute. We just
Yeah. I'm like saying that to myself out loud, so I remember it for later because I'm
right.
I'm going off the.
Well, we'll go into our in-depth conclusions about the show because there are definitely things wrong with it, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I just wanted to I guess get into a little background of where we're coming from with this because I've seen the show in its entirety at least 3 times, probably more than that. I watched it when it was on reruns on Nickelodeon, and I was in middle school, and I watched the entire thing, probably in like not chronological order.
Yeah.
But I did that, and then my freshman year of high school, I was lonely, bored, and ready to die. And
as freshmen are.
And no, I was kidding. And I watched it when I was bored on a vacation, and I watched the entire thing. It was on Amazon. I think it was on Amazon Prime Video at the time.
Really?
I think so. I don't know how I would have watched it because I wasn't knowledgeable enough about like the illegal places or the questionably legal places or anything like that.
WatchAnime.com.
Yeah, like I didn't know anything about that at that time, but. And then I just watched it when it came back on Netflix in the U.S. It's been, by the way, I didn't know this, but it's been on Netflix on pretty much every other country except for the U.S. for the past like year and a half, which is really upsetting. Okay. Yeah, we just got it a few months ago.
Isn't it an American show?
Yeah, it's an American show. It's just like we haven't had the rights to it apparently.
Okay, oops, I guess.
I don't know how that works exactly, but I've loved it every single time. But this time that I watched it within the past few months, I was more critical of it. I've definitely grown a lot since freshman year in middle school, so I wanted to share my experiences. I don't have those rose-tinted goggles anymore. I'm mature. I'm a man. I'm an intelligent man who has a podcast called The Smiling Rainbow Unicorn of Doom. And
an intelligent podcast?
Oh, yeah. No, there's nothing. Have you listened to the other podcasts? I mean, what we just talk about nothing but the intellectual stuff.
Yes. No, but I mean, I feel like being able to look at something critically usually helps me enjoy it. I mean, giving a thorough analysis of something, looking into what it doesn't do well helps you appreciate better what it does do well. And also usually you can look in deeper and find more, subtle nuances of things that you can enjoy, so.
Yeah, so let's get into that then. When was the last time you watched it? And how many times have you watched it?
I watched it as a kid, sparingly. Like, when it came on Netflix, I would watch it. So I probably saw the entirety of the show, but just not, like, in any consistent order.
Right.
And then in high school, me and one of my closest friends just watched through the entire thing straight. That was, like, my most consistent viewing. We would sit down and watch, like, 10 episodes or 8 episodes at a time, something like that.
Jeez.
I mean, that was what we would do. I mean, are you ashamed or are you disappointed?
No, I'm not disappointed. I act like I didn't just binge watch the first 3 Star Wars movies a few days ago, so.
And then in the last year or so, me and my other friend were trying to show it to a friend who hasn't seen it, but he wasn't super committed. So we got about like halfway, 2/3 through the second season, and we have stopped since. And we're going to go watch the rest of it without him because he's a little baby.
Right.
So.
He's not intelligent like us.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's time to stick with him. Maybe we'll keep trying. Who knows? We'll see how it goes.
Well, I think our conclusion is that if you don't like Avatar: The Last Airbender, you're wrong. But okay, but I don't know. Just my general synopsis is I would recommend it if you like kids shows that are good for adults. If you don't like that kind of stuff, because it is. Let's not beat around.
Yeah, I mean, it's a kid show.
Right.
And there are aspects of it being a kid show that hold it back. I mean, there's times that it has like violence and very serious topics and things like that, but it still is a kid show at its roots. And because it, was on Nickelodeon and things like that, there's certain limits that they had to put on it and certain ways that they had to design it. Because in certain ways, I think it being a kid show can make it better because of the ways it tackles things, but sometimes it's not. So it's just something you have to be aware about when you talk about it critically. So
yeah. So I guess my very brief synopsis, or not synopsis, my very brief critique of the show is, this might be a little controversial, but I think season 2 or book 2 Earth is the best season in my opinion.
Okay.
Season 1, I'm just gonna say seasons instead of books, but season 1,
yeah, no one cares,
is easily, it's a good season, but it's easily the worst in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accepted, I think.
Yeah, and then season 3 is consistently the best. Each episode's consistently good. Season 2, in my opinion, is like half the episodes are like those kid, almost filler episodes, but then the second half of the season, oh my god.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you 100% on that.
After, this is going to get into some spoiler territory, but after the episode The Library, or I would say the Library and Beyond is the best part of the entire show. That arc of episodes, the Tales of Ba Sing Se, Appa's Lost Days, the ending, finding out about Dai Li, like those are the coolest parts of the entire show in my opinion. But that's just what I like. I grew up in, I guess, late middle school and early high school watching Game of Thrones, so I like that kind of political drama, the surprise, darker kind of stuff. So that's just what I grew up liking, I guess.
I'm definitely on board with season 3 being consistent and season 2 being a lot of like high highs and sort of mediums. One of the things you're talking about is with it being a kid show is that there are filler episodes, and it kind of makes sense to have those for a story reason, because as it goes along, I mean, you think about like the character's journey. Season 1 has a lot of filler episodes, has a lot of episodes in which the things that are happening are really not very consequential to the overall plot, and just sort of they're moseying along and doing whatever. And then as it moves along, things get more and more serious and more serious until eventually it leads to very consistent seriousness, sort of mirroring the serious nature of the conflict that they're going through as they move along throughout their story. But the way that a lot of the filler episodes are handled, especially in season 1, a lot of them, it's basically just if you find them entertaining, you do, and if you don't, you don't. Like, there's not a lot of critical enjoyment you can get out of some of the episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Oops, that's a wrench.
No, I completely agree. Like, I think the final, 2 episodes? The Winter Solstice, I think those are the 2 best episodes in the first season. I think those are honestly the only 2 episodes in that season that are, like, really, really good. The other ones are more filler, and I get why they were still trying to find their footing. And filler episodes from a just production standpoint makes sense. You need to have episodes like The Great Divide or The Beach that
Whoa. Great Divide sucks.
Yeah.
The Beach is great. The Beach is very important. The Beach is not a filler episode.
No, I would say The Beach is my least favorite episode besides The Great Divide. Well, I was going to say, we'll come back to that. But I was going to say that you need episodes like The Great Divide so you can put on TV and somebody can just turn on Nickelodeon and not be lost. So I totally get why they have it, but from a I'm binging this 15 years later standpoint, it's not that great. So let's talk about The Beach.
Okay.
In my watch through, which took about a month for me to get through all of them because I'm really horrible about watching TV shows. I get distracted. But it
Sorry, I keep messing with random metal objects and then I drop them. It makes a really loud noise. I'm just gonna take all metal objects off of my desk. Resume.
We just hear like a cat screech and like some cannon fire. No, I mean, during my watch through, the beach was the only episode I remember skipping through most of the scenes because it was really boring to me. The only scene I think it's really worth it in that episode is the end when they're at the campfire. The rest of it just seems more like a filler episode to me, like a stereotypical anime filler episode. Oh, they have a beach episode where they get all the underage women of the show to wear scantily clad clothing.
Ty Lee's got a little bit too much, I think, going on. I don't know. it was a little whatever. Anyways. The beat, especially the campfire scene, but there's many aspects of it that are thrown throughout the whole episode. The beach is a massive character development episode, partially for Zuko, but mainly for Azula. By putting them in a circumstance that seems filler-esque, you got to think about it because you've seen, Aang, Katara, Sokka. You've seen them do filler stuff for a lot. You've seen them have casual time, chill time to spend with each other, not doing anything serious. You don't really get that for Azula. Azula, who is that? Azula. Azula, you always see her militaristic. You see her being formal, in charge, all that. Seeing Azula in a circumstance where she's supposed to be normal, social, spending time with family and friends and all that, you see how out of place she is, and you see how little of a grasp she has on the rest of the world, how she's very much so kind of contained in her own head about honor, success, the Fire Nation's goals, her dad's goals, all of that, and like how she gets completely consumed by that, and she gets really envious of Ty Lee because Ty Lee is pretty and she's sociable and she's friendly and fun and everyone likes her, and Azula keeps shutting her down and keeps bringing her back and tearing her apart because she feels inadequate, that there's something that she can't do as well as somebody else, and she's not used to that. Her whole arc is trying to be the best at what she considers the best to be, which is mainly just what her father wanted the best to be. So
right. I didn't really think about it like that. I'm not as deep, I guess, but I watched that episode. I was like, oh cool, awkward teenager stuff. I've lived through that. I don't need to rewatch it. I mean, she's still better. Azula's still better at flirting than I am. So. You were supposed to.
No,
dispute
Thomas,
that.
you're wonderful at flirting.
I'm like 0 for 5 at this point.
I would recommend giving it a rewatch at some point. Just like, I don't know. I mean, I might be wrong about it. I haven't seen it in super long, but I feel like it's just a lot of subtleties with that episode. I mean, there's definitely filler aspects to it, but I wouldn't describe it as a filler episode.
I've definitely.
But yeah, Great Divide sucks.
I've definitely seen posts online about like people. I follow Avatar memes and stuff like that, and what comes with that is some people tearing it apart or ripping it apart, trying to unfold everything, and they talk about that episode a lot, especially for Azula, picturing her more as obviously a mentally abused child, and how unfortunate it is that her life and her circumstances we should be sympathetic towards, and I appreciate that. I don't know, I just never enjoyed the episode, but I'll definitely have to watch it again. It's now that it's on Netflix, I can go back and watch certain episodes.
Yeah. But with The Great Divide, not only is that one, completely irrelevant in terms of the plot. I mean, with the beach episode, you at least have character development with Azula and Zuko. The Great Divide, it's mainly about two parties which you've never seen before and will never see again, and Aang being really, really out of character for the entire episode, and then it just ends and none of that was ever relevant again. So
yeah, Yeah, no,
Yeah.
The Great Divide is fun. It's a fun episode, and it was the episode that played, if I remember correctly, I remember seeing that episode being played a lot because it's that episode that has no bearing on anything, so you can just watch it as a kid or as a parent. You can watch it on Nickelodeon and not be lost or not be confused about what's happening in the overarching story. I feel like mostly you can get the grasp of the entire season 1 in that way, and that's why I don't think it's the best. But we're also almost 20-year-old men picking apart a children's show.
Well, but they put that much effort into that children's show, so I don't feel ashamed. I mean, I'm not putting this much effort into SpongeBob. I mean, SpongeBob is great and it's really funny sometimes, but clearly it has massively less effort than they put into Avatar. So
yeah, that's very true. So just as an overall thing, I like Avatar. I love the show. But I like how it's different from they managed to get a fantasy show that isn't about like Europe. It isn't dragons or knights or anything. Like that's not.
Yeah, the Asian setting and theme of that really it provides a lot.
Yeah, totally. And I love Asian culture. I'm very appreciative of it. That's my main focus in my history studies is Asian history, and it's just fun to see the little things that they've put in it, the architecture, the clothing. They did their research, and I think they put a lot of time and love into that show, and it definitely shows.
Yeah. One of the things that I've seen before that's really cool, there's like a special feature on a lot of the discs, is that the different types of bending are based on, actual types of martial arts. I don't remember which correlates to which, but they would sort of rotoscope out martial artists doing moves and sort of warp that into different types of bending and all that, which not only provides the bending to look really realistic and interesting and smooth and powerful looking, but also just provides more cultural context for what they're talking about, which I think is fascinating. And I would like to thoroughly watch that special feature if I could find it again.
Yeah, and that's why I'm excited for the new Netflix show, which we can talk about in a minute. Do you know that Netflix is doing a live action thing?
Yes.
Is it a continuation or is it them redoing it?
I believe I believe they're redoing it. I think it's just the show over again. Okay. They may or may not do the 4th season. I don't know if you're aware of this, but the original show was intended to have a 4th book. Yeah. Well, I guess it would be air, but a 4th season. That was intended to follow the story of Zuko trying to find his mom.
Yeah.
And other developments like that. And I believe it got canceled because of the movie. I don't know if that's the actual reason. That's what I've heard, but I could totally see that being fake. But I know that there was a 4th season intended that did not happen. So they could potentially continue that.
Yeah, and I remember reading that, and they did end up doing it in the comic book version, which
Yes.
I know, and that's how they sort of flesh Azula out a little more. Is that apparently, I guess spoilers, if you after she gets defeated and she gets arrested, they get her to help them find her, so she comes along with them or something like that. So I don't know exactly about that, but I'm excited for the show because, well, they have Asian actors, which we can get into that in a second. But they also, I remember reading that you should have some to apply for a role. You should have some martial arts experience, or at least we're going to teach you martial arts. So you should be fit enough to be able to do that. And I think we can talk about the movie if have you seen the movie?
Nope, and I do not intend to.
We should totally watch it.
Okay. No, I'd be down to.
Yeah, we should totally watch it. We should get hydrated and watch the watch the Last Airbender movie.
What? Hydrated? What?
Air quotes, hydrated.
I'm so scared.
We're gonna get hammered.
Oh, alcohol. All right.
I'm kidding. No,
I don't like drinking, so.
Here's why I don't hate the movie, and I get a lot of weird looks as when I say, you know what, I don't hate the movie. I watched the movie in 2010, I believe, when it came out, something like that, and I was vaguely aware of the show Avatar: The Last Airbender, but I'd never seen a single episode of it. When the movie came out, we watched it, and I was 10, 11 years, however old I was. And I watched it, and I was like, oh, this is cool. This is such a cool movie. I need to watch the TV show now. And that's how I started watching the TV show. That's the only reason I watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Nickelodeon show, because I had watched the movie. So the movie, while I looked back at it and I looked at some clips, it's not good. It does have a special place in my heart because I actually started watching the show because I had watched this movie.
Yeah.
So I could talk. The main problems with the show is they tried, and I guess I'm teaching you, they tried to make it seem authentically Asian, but still hiring all white actors except for the villains who were people of color.
So you mean the movie?
Yes.
Okay, you said the show, and I was like, wait, how can you hire white actors for an anime?
Yeah, no, sorry. They so all of the actors were white except for the villains who were all Asian. Which I don't think that
I don't think
was
that's intentional. That's
intentional.
just unfortunate.
But that's unfortunate. But they tried to make it seem authentic because they used the Asian pronunciations of words. Instead of ang, they said ong.
Oh, it was ong. Yeah.
Instead of iro, they said iro. Like they did it. They tried to make it authentic in the wrong way.
I would rather than be authentic to what the show was, because the show was pretty authentic as it was.
Right. And well, there were so many problems with the show. You really can't wrap a 20-something episode season into an hour and 20-minute movie.
No,
There's
not at all.
hard to do that. And also,
So,
it's just
what does the movie cover? Is it just the first season?
yes, it's the first season, but still, it's very rushed. Obviously, the filler episodes they don't have, but there are little things. They're just little things that show that this was a cash grab rather than a really trying to respect the source material. And like there's like the scene where Katara tries to, in the show, when Katara tries to make the Earthbenders rise up against the Fire Nation who had conquered their village. In the show, it was like they're arrested and they were on a coal mine. In the show, they just show up at a random village, and all the Earth people have been enslaved or whatever. And she's like, "You guys need to stand up," and then they do, but their earthbending looks so bad. Like, have you seen that?
I've seen the footage. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
there was just
they do like they
dudes.
get like 6 guys to move around, like a pebble's floating across the screen. It's like, wow.
It's very, very slowly, and it's like obviously not.
Yeah.
But then we
Just dangling a rock on a string, like, ooh.
Ooh. No, but you weren't there for this. No, you weren't there for this. But, and I won't name drop anybody, but last year, before I had my XLR Orlando University radio show, I was shadowing somebody who had a show, and they were talking about, they talked about whatever, but they were talking about Avatar this time. And you should have been there. Oh my God, the discussion broke down really quickly. And because one of the guys, I don't know his name, so I wouldn't say it anyways, he said, I don't think it really matters if the actors in a live action Avatar are Asian. He said, I don't think that matters. They can be whatever color they want as long as they are good actors. And oh my God, there was somebody here, I can tell you later, I'm not going to say their name, who started screaming, and they got it basically turned into everybody was screaming at each other. So that was fun. I was not a part of this, but we can have a civil debate, or we can start screaming. I don't care about. What do you think about that? I mean, do you think that they need to be the race that they are portrayed in the show, or do you think it matters?
Well, there's a lot of things that go into that, especially considering that it's an animation adaptation. It's a live action adaptation of an animated show. Because it can be hard to discern what the intended race of an animated character is.
We
if you're basing it off of because if you're basing it off of the cultural inspiration, Fire Nation is Japanese. Earth Nation is Chinese, I believe.
Yes.
Water is Inuit, and which isn't Asian, I guess, but whatever. And air nomads are like the monks.
The Tibetan
Tibet.
Or Himalayan, yeah.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you could say, oh, well, it's a fantasy show, so they're not Japanese and Chinese. They're Fire Kingdom and Earth Kingdom. But, like, the inspiration is clear. They're clearly Asian. And there's certainly an argument to be made that the point of acting is to try to be someone else and to fit into a different character, so you don't necessarily have to be that race. But I feel like if it's for something like Avatar, where the cultural and racial aspects of a character have actual significance in the world building and the lore and the story, which I feel like happens most of the time in shows and movies like these, then I feel like you should probably just try to find an actor that's fitting. Because not only would it look more appropriate, but it just fits the thematic nature of it better and shows more reverence for the original source material.
Yeah.
Because if Avatar the show wanted the characters to be white, then they would be white, and they're not. So
right. And by the way, that was our segment of Joe Talk. I think I'm gonna add that animation again. But
good.
No, but I think they should at least be Asian, right? I know it's hard. It would be pretty hard to find a Tibetan actor. Tibet is a very low populated region. But they should at least be broadly Asian, right? Or at least
because it's circumstantial. You're gonna have a hard time probably finding an Inuit actor as well. I mean, you could probably find a Native American actor in some nature, or just a Native American continent actor, depending. Like Inuit's like Alaskan, right? Like Northwest.
Sure.
Okay, I'm fairly certain Inuit is Alaskan, but
it's northern.
I agree. I feel like it finding an actor from Tibet would be very challenging, or even, a lot of places that have monks like that. I mean, you're gonna have a hard time probably finding actors from a lot of places in Southeastern Asia and stuff like that. So
right, so what do you think about? This has sort of been a debate. I'm not going to get into the overarching debate, but there has been a debate on whether voice actors can voice certain races. Like both of us are white, both of us are do little funny voices and stuff like that. If we wanted to be a black character, if we wanted to be an Asian character, and we can do the voice, do you think we should be able to?
Voicing is a very different story, I would say, because people are people. I mean, despite racial opinions as a whole, which is a vastly different topic that I feel like is unnecessary for this discussion.
No.
Yeah, this is not going to be getting into. I'm a white person. I'm not going to not be a white person ever.
You're white?
Yes. Sorry to break the news to you.
Jesus Christ.
But I don't feel like my voice is inherently white. I don't feel like if I heard Aang's voice, I wouldn't say that's an Asian voice actor. If I heard Katara's voice, I wouldn't say, oh, that's an Inuit voice actor. I don't think they even were.
They weren't. They were all white.
Yeah, they weren't. So,
except for Iroh and Zuko.
Yeah, Zuko. Was Zuko played by the voice actor for Zuko in the movie? I know he does a lot of stuff like that. No,
he was not. He was voiced by Dante Bosco, who.
Yeah, Dante Bosco was he not the actor in the movie?
No, he was not. He does. If you look him up, he does not look like Zuko at all.
Okay, well, I haven't seen Zuko from the movie, so
yeah.
It makes sense. Dante Bosco doesn't look like Zuko, so.
Yeah, and then obviously the voice actor for Iroh was passed away by the time the movie came out, but
yeah,
he was Japanese.
It's gonna be so weird hearing Iroh's new voice in the live-action show.
Greg Baldwin does a pretty good job. He's the one that took over in season 3 because Iroh died.
Oh, okay. Well,
Iroh had died. So just a little bit to break your heart. The scene Leaves from the Vine, that scene from the Tales of Ba Sing Se in season 2, that was one of the last scenes that Mako, I don't remember his last name, Mako recorded before he passed away. So when you hear the character Iroh crying, that's actually is Mako crying, because that was one of the last scenes he was going to record before he was going to go to the hospital and would eventually pass away. Mm-hmm. So just a little bit of news to bring your day down. But
I used to think that the in honor of was like supposed to be Iroh's son that died. I did not understand that until
no, I didn't know who Mako was either. I didn't know who that was until I looked it up later. But that to say that for the reason that Iroh's not in the most of season 3 is because they were like, we can't, or well, they got an actor named Greg Baldwin who does all of the Iroh stuff now in this and The Legend of Korra, and they got him, but they were like, out of respect for Mako, we're not going to do it until it's absolutely necessary to have Iroh back. So I feel like Greg Baldwin does a decent job. I remember as a kid thinking that's a different voice actor, but other than that, it's not a bad.
I'll have to look up the comparisons later. But
yeah.
Returning back to the previous discussion, voice acting for races is very different, because it's about a lot of subtlety stuff. Voices can very easily fall into stereotypes. Voicing an Asian character doesn't mean doing the stereotypical Asian things. I don't need to point them all out, but voicing a character of a certain race doesn't have to involve doing those kind of things. It's about the character. You're doing the voice of a character, not the voice of a race. When you play a character in a movie, when you're acting as them, you are very visually and physically that character, which includes the race. But I would say that the voice is detached enough, both in like the moral sense and also just in the literal connection of a voice to a person's race is different enough that I don't feel like that distinction would have to be made. But I mean, I could be wrong about that. And if there are people who are sensitive enough about that, or have a particular counterpoint to it, then I might be able to see. I could definitely see another viewpoint on this. But just as my personal experience of being a person who does voice stuff and potentially may end up being a voice actor in the future, that's how I would feel about that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I feel like that's the beauty of animation. That's sort of one of the reasons animation exists, is still a thing now, is that I'm not gonna say it's easier than live action, but it adds problems and it takes away problems. You don't have to look like the character. You don't have to look like a character to voice them anymore, and that I feel like includes the color of your skin. And I think that's the cool thing about voice acting, is that I can voice whoever I want, but nobody has to see my ugly face, and that's the cool part about it.
Wow!
I'm gonna cut all of that out.
Yeah, get it out of here.
Or I'll just post it and put your name all over it. Just like, look what
just
Joe
make it
said.
seem like it's my voice saying that.
Yeah. I don't know how, but I'll do it. Anyways. But have you seen The Legend of Korra?
No, I'm intending to watch that with my friend soon.
Okay, yeah, I remember I watched the first episode when it came out. I don't remember what year that was. And I remember thinking, this is so different. I don't like it, is what I remember thinking. And then I watched one more episode, which I thought was the final episode, but I don't think it was. Which I won't spoil anything of what happened, but I was like, oh, that was dark. Yeah. But I remember not liking it. I've seen scenes, but I do plan on, if it comes out on Netflix, I'll totally watch it. Otherwise, I'll wait. But
the consensus that I've heard is that people either like it just as much as the original show, or they hate it.
Right.
I don't know about the actual quality of it. Like I said, I haven't seen it, so I don't really know. But
the animation quality is amazing, but obviously because it's 10 years older. But
yeah,
just from what I've seen, I think people weren't expecting Korra to be such a different character. Mm-hmm. I'm not spoiling anything. You'll find this out in the first episode. She's much more cocky, much more arrogant, much more hard-headed and hasty than Ong was. But but I think that's taking a lot to get used to. And I think there is a sociological, there are certain people that don't like, I'm not calling anybody out, but there's certain people that don't like having a strong, almost hard-headed woman character like that. A lot of people get annoyed by that for whatever reason. So I think that's a big problem with it. But we'll have to see. I don't have any firm opinions on it currently, because I've never seen it, and I don't want to make a opinion about something I haven't seen. I've just seen the 2 episodes and then the clips. We need to watch that movie though. We need.
Yes, we will. We will do that. And I mean, I want to know. I mean, if it's one of my favorite pieces of media, I feel like I'm obligated to know about that kind of stuff. So,
it's just it's a poorly made movie. It's just it's not like as bad. I feel like it's just you watch it and you're like, okay, this is an okay movie if it weren't based on the TV show, but since it's based on the TV show, it's not very good.
How complete spoiler territory, like 100%. How do you feel about how the show ends?
I appreciate the message. Wait, what do you mean by how, like, the final fight scene?
Just the not the final fight scene, just the general resolution of the show within the last 6 episodes or so. Just how the show, how the characters' arcs complete and how the show comes to a resolution. Well, because I'm asking you because there's something specific that I want to talk about that relates to that. So.
Well, I think Zuko's arc is easily my favorite arc of the entire show. Obviously, Iroh's my favorite character. I have a pop figure of him. He's staring into my soul right now. But it's my favorite character. But Zuko's arc is very well written, I feel like. So I'm glad he ended the way he did, even though if we're talking about shipping people, I don't ship Zuko and May.
I'm not. You're welcome to when I start talking about.
Yeah, no, but that's not what I was going to get into. But I like how Aang. I like that the main thing he deals with in season 3 is the idea of, is it better to kill somebody or is it better to let them live? I feel like it sort of ends in a very strange way. It's like, oh, I just took away his bending. Look at that. I didn't know I could do that. But I feel like that's sort of like a Deus Ex Machina kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure there's some lore, whatever, that they justify in Legend of Korra or whatever, but that's the only thing I have with it. It's believable, but it's also like, well, that was easy. You know?
Yeah, well, one of the main aspects about it is that the whole show is about trying to decide between these two routes, you know, letting someone live and keeping your morals and your personal sense of justice for potentially endangering millions of people, or sacrificing your own self and your own desires and your own moral sense for the greater good, effectively.
And they didn't really deal with that. It's sort of like we have another way.
Aang got a cop out. Aang was not forced to choose between those two things. I mean, you can retcon whatever you want in a lore, but a character that we've never seen before and a concept we never heard before comes out of nowhere and basically says, hey, here's a solution to both of your problems where you get to not endanger anybody but also not break your morals. Yeah. So I feel like that is one of the worst plot aspects of the show, because I feel like it almost negates a vast majority of the arc that Aang goes through.
Yeah, I didn't even really think about that until you mentioned it, but it works for a kid's show. Obviously, they weren't about to show Aang just like crush the Fire Lord's face in, or
just gets 2 rocks and
the final episode is just like, you just watch, you know, that like spire of all the elements going down towards the Fire Lord that he eventually lets go. No, that just rails right through him. He splits the Fire Lord in half, and then the episode's over.
Flamethrowers the Fire Lord for like 2 minutes.
Oh my god. No, but not that. But that would be, as amusing as that would be, I can see why they didn't do that. And I know they wanted to wrap the show up, so they can't be like, all right, I encased him in rock, and now we have to deal with him still able to bend, but he's still alive. They can't really deal with that. So I understand why they did it, and it doesn't ruin. It's not like a Game of Thrones ending. It doesn't ruin the entire show for me.
No.
But
no, not at all.
It's too easy. I don't want to. If I were a parent, God bless that child, but if I were a parent, I wouldn't want to watch a TV show my child that murder is okay, even for the greater good. But you're right. It's just from a storytelling standpoint, it's kind of weak.
Yeah, well, that's like bringing it back to talking about earlier. That's one of the downsides of it being a kid's show, because if they can't show Aang, I mean, just killing him, because that would be horrifying for children, and they can't, for a plot standpoint, it would be not only very confusing for kids, but also just generally pretty horrible if Aang just lets him do his thing. Right. So, you know, it puts that in a very tough spot for kids show reasons. So,
right. One of them, they put a lot of time I feel like it's one of the best shows ever made, and I feel like it's the best Nickelodeon show, but that's just because they put so much time into it. It wasn't just for kids. Like, you don't see SpongeBob getting sat down and like mind or brainwashed. Well, in a really serious and creepy way, which is one of my favorite scenes of the entire show, is when the Dai kidnap Jet and brainwash him.
Yeah.
Spoiler, which is Long Fang is voiced by Mr. Krabs, though. Well, yeah, but Long Fang is voiced by Mr. Krabs, by the way, if you didn't know.
In the original show or in the new one?
What?
In the original show or the new one?
Yeah, no, in the original show, Long Fang, the head of the Dai Li, the secret agents, is voiced by the voice of Mr. Krabs.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, no, it's pretty amazing. Judy, me boy.
There is no war in Ba Sing Se, me boy.
Oh man, but I just wanted to wrap up. It's been a little bit since we've been on the show, and you've been on a show, so people have been missing you. I think maybe, I don't know, but
I'm certain they have been.
But what have you been up to? Can you tell the little Smiley Rainbow Unicorn Doomers at home? I don't know. We need to work on that.
The Doomers?
No,
don't call them the Doomers.
I feel like I need to now.
No,
but
you don't.
We should come up with some name though. I mean, like, I always open the show with like coming at you live from the friend zone, but I completely forgot today. But
I wouldn't do that either.
You just hate everything. Like, oh, you didn't like the name.
Yes, that's true.
You didn't like the name.
Your show sucks. Every aspect that doesn't involve me is bad. Every episode that I'm not in is bad. And every episode that I am in is only good because I'm in it.
Man, this segment of Joe Talk took a turn. But what have you been up to? What have the little Doomers been missing in Joe World?
I've been writing... Actually, I have been writing my own short stories in a fantasy universe that has a lot of inspiration from Avatar, which is interesting. Not a ton. I have 2 short stories right now. I need to work on the second one or the third one soon. I've been moving basically down the street, but moving nevertheless still takes forever and all that.
Yeah.
Longer story. Basically, we're moving into our grandma's house. Not going to go into all the details because there's no point. But doing that and not hanging out with anyone because of the coronavirus. So, yeah. Nice.
Yeah. It's Zuko and Katara fanfiction, right?
What?
Your short story.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with Avatar. It just has inspirations from Avatar.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Sure, all right. I'm gonna write some Aang Zuko. What is the chef name for Aang and Zuko? Is it like Zhang? It sounds like a Zaxby's sauce.
Ayuko.
Ayuko.
Ayuko. No, I've been. It's funny. I've been inspired by Avatar too. I've been lonely.
Is your loneliness inspired by Avatar?
I was trying to do a silent pause in between that, but I couldn't hold it together. No, I've just been hanging out. I've been playing a lot of Minecraft, so I've been building this stuff based off of what I've seen in Avatar. So,
I think I don't remember if there's an Avatar world. There might be, but I remember the console versions, mainly the Xbox version of Minecraft, had like the texture packs, and the texture packs would come with a like fully designed world with it. So like there was an Adventure Time texture pack, and there was this big world with a bunch of Adventure Time buildings and all that stuff in it. It was really cool. I think there might have been an Avatar one. I don't remember. But...
I'm sure there are fan maps. That sounds awesome.
Oh, sure. I mean, I'll look it up later, but...
Unfortunately, I'm a pleb and I'm playing on the Pocket Edition version because my computer can't handle anything.
That is quite plebby.
Yeah. Yeah, but is there anything else you had on the topic of Avatar, The Last Airbender?
Iroh is best character.
Well,
only second to Sparky Boo Man.
I was going to say he's third.
Yes.
Sparky Sparky Boom Boom Man, and then Appa. But that's just me.
Oh, and Cabbage Guy.
Actually, Iroh's just not on the list.
Yeah, he's not top 3.
Compared to like Cabbage Guy, he's just nothing. He's no one.
The lack of depth that Iroh gets compared to the Cabbage Man's 7 arcs.
It really is unfortunate. I want to hold on. This is an open letter to Nickelodeon and to Netflix. If you want to cast a white guy, don't. But if you do, I'll be the Cabbage Guy. Here's my open audition. My cabbages. See? Right. Thank you. Boom. I just saved your entire show. I'll do it for free, too. I'll save you so much money. I'll do it for free.
If your CGI department is lacking, I will play Appa. DM me on Discord.
If you think I'm not going to Photoshop something about that, you're wrong.
You're welcome to.
Oh, yeah. I just need a picture. Just send me a picture of you in your shirtless body.
Wait a minute. This is a ploy, isn't it?
Just like we're at graduation. You're like, hey, Thomas, how's that Appa Photoshop coming along?
It's like pinned up on your wall.
I'm just like, what up?
In our room together. Okay.
Thank you guys for tuning in to the Smiling Room going to Boom. And thank you, Joe, for coming out. And for those listening, this is going to be released on July 4th. Hope you guys have a safe and pleasurable July 4th. You guys stay awesome. Peace.